Good morning, everybody. It's Judy again, and I have with me the wonderful, beautiful Carrie Campbell. And just to introduce you and give you a little bit of a background here, I've been working with Carrie and Brian, the co-creators of the Mindset Performance Institute, for a number of years. Carrie is a world-class counselor. She has done some amazing stuff. I'll let you tell them about your own journey. And she's come from a background that a lot of us could relate to. So I'm just going to jump right in rather than rambling on and on about how wonderful you are. So first, can you describe your own journey as it relates to MPI and mindset, and some of where you've gone with this?
Absolutely. Talking about rambling, I could ramble forever, so just cut me off at any point, because otherwise, you know me, I'm just going to go. That's a great question. And first of all, I just want to say thank you, Judy, for this interview. I'm humbled and honored, and I will stop right there because you know what I feel about that, what I feel about you. But yeah, I think one of the most important things that I like to share with people whenever I'm talking about MPI, Mindset Performance Institute, is that, yeah, of course, it is scientifically valid, and it is spiritually valid in all the ways possible, and it is professionally valid in the support and the experience and the testimonials that we have. But one of the things that I love to tell people is that I know it works because I've done it. MPI really is a culmination of obviously our professional experiences, but both mine and Brian's personal journeys as well. And there's absolutely nothing inside of MPI that is taught, that is delivered, that isn't something that was a creation of part of our own journey, or that we used ourselves in our own daily life. So I think that there's so much value to that. And yeah, I'm sitting here as a co-creator and saying that, but the reality is like, I'm one of those people who is like a firm believer of the practice what you preach principle. And, who am I to tell everybody here, do this for mindset and do this, and it works and it doesn't work if it hasn't been tried and tested. So it is my experience. It is my journey. So mindset is a huge daily practice of my own. Judy's going to laugh when I say this, because I am the biggest advocate of tracking and journaling that there's possibly in this world. And I am so diligent about having my students that I coach and my clients do it. But the reason is because I see the power of it in my own life. So all the mindset practices that are taught in MPI are things that are integrated into my own life. Now, insofar as my own journey, wow, it's, I think that it's I could talk forever about that. So I try and figure out where I want to start. But let me give you a little bit of like the summary recap. So, I have been since the age of 3, because that's probably the earliest recollection that I can go back to, a people pleaser and a fixer. And that's who my nature is. So I've spent my life giving to others and not giving to myself. And I had to come to that awareness myself through my own mindset journey. But what I ended up realizing probably about 8 or 9 years ago now, wow, it's been a long time, 8 or 9 years ago now, was that what that led to was a series of abusive relationships for me. A marriage that was very abusive emotionally and verbally, I won't get into the details, but very emotionally and verbally abusive. That went on for 13 years. And it's a funny thing, because here I am, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to say to you that like, I was part responsible, and I can say that now because I'm not a victim of abuse. I was a contributor to it. I was a people pleaser who accepted it into my world. So you asked me what my journey is in mindset. Well, that was a huge part of my journey in my own mindset awareness, was the realization that I wasn't a victim. I was a contributor. I was accountable. I learned how to go through the process of being accountable to my role in everything in life. And what I came to realize, obviously there's lots of ins and outs to mindset, and some of the language I might be using, if you're listening, you might not necessarily recognize this, but we're a product of our experiences and our past. And those all form into us in the shape of stories. So, as a people pleaser and as an abuse victim, I was walking around with a lot of stories that were driving my entire life. And it wasn't until, for me that I found myself in a new relationship with my current love of my life, who is also the other co-founder of MPI. It wasn't until then that I started to realize how much these stories and these experiences impacted me. So I went on my own mindset crusade, I guess you could say, to become accountable for all of that and to learn how to change it. So that's kind of the summary version, because I could talk about that for 5 hours.
How about give them an idea of where mindset took you last year? I mean, you did some pretty amazing turnarounds, and you're going on an amazing journey right now.
Yeah, I'm going to ask from you, do you have anything more specific? Because mindset takes me everywhere in a lot of different, are you thinking about one of my particular journeys? Because all of them.
I was thinking career-wise.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. Oh, good question, Judy. Okay. So last year, I, in the middle of the summer last year, I was feeling not unfulfilled with my career at all, because I've been a counselor forever and I love it and I adore it. But I decided that I wanted to kind of like dip into two realms of new things. And I'm an incredibly creative person, hence the purple hair and tattoos. You can probably tell that. But fashion and beauty and creativity, I'm a visual artist. Those are such a large part of my life. And so last year I decided to take a step into a different industry just to experience it. And I got hired as a creative director for a fashion magazine. Big job, big deal. Had never had experience in the fashion world before from that standpoint. I model professionally, and I do creative directing and styling privately on the side, but in an industry with a very different world. So I think the thing about that journey that was so remarkable and how mindset helped me was that, I learned how to detach from the outcome. Because going into a new career, a new environment, I've been an entrepreneur my entire life since I was 18 years old. So all of a sudden I was conditioned to somebody else's schedule, to somebody else's rules, to somebody else's life. It wasn't my own, somebody else's vision. It was the first time I'd been working with somebody else's vision. So I found myself like realizing that I was going through the process, and being so aware of my mindset, I was able to detach from the outcome. So, if you are unaware and if you are, very fixed in your mindset, thoughts like, well, how am I going to work 9 to 5? What happens if I don't like it? Am I going to be able to get up every day and leave the house and actually enjoy it? Is it going to affect the rest of my life? All of those thoughts would have come in and would have prohibited me from taking that step forward. But because I'm detached and because my mindset is dynamic, I was able to just kind of release myself to it and say, it's all good. You know what? Nothing is permanent. So if I do something I don't like it, I can change my mind and not do it anymore, right? What I did know was that life was too short for me to not have the experience of going and trying. So I spent 6 months in that industry. I loved it. I adored it. I enjoyed all the aspects of it, and then found myself this January in a very interesting position, because in the process of working for the magazine, I also found myself like floating back to everything I do from a coaching standpoint. So I launched a private women's group that I run, and I found myself moving back into that world again. So in January, I had a really interesting decision to make, because the magazine actually offered me equity shares in the company, and I had to decide what I wanted to do. And if any of you face decisions where it's like, you got to go this way or that way, and they're rather big differences, that your brain kind of kicks into gear of like, what am I going to do? You have to make a decision. So I think for me, the most powerful thing in mindset was that because I know my vision, which is all part of it, because I know it, I'm going to use the word avatar. You're not going to know what that means right now, but because I have my profile, my snapshot of where I'm going in life, it was really easy to make that decision, because I was able to assess, well, this is what I want over here, and I know that that's what I want because I did all the work to find that. Does this position with the magazine fit into that? And the answer was the answer came to me within literally a matter of like 2 days. I was like, you know what, I know where I want to be. And so I made the decision to come back full time into our businesses. And the best decision I made was trying the fashion industry, and the even better decision I made was coming back. And so it was a beautiful journey. I don't regret any of it at all.
And how about your fitness? You're also, I'll let you say, because I'm so excited about this.
Are you talking about my current fitness routine? Judy's known me for so long; she knows all the stories. Okay, So I'm a competitive athlete. I have been my entire life. My fitness world has transformed and changed various times since the time I was 18 years old. As much as I'm a counselor, I'm also a certified personal trainer. So fitness has been a part of my life forever. I was, for the longest time, a fitness competitor. That was what I did. And then I realized I wasn't really lining up with what I wanted. I wanted the physique, but I didn't want to compete. That wasn't really what I wanted. I wanted a healthy life. I wanted a vision that really fit with my core. So I guess about not even a year ago now, probably 9 months ago, I decided to try my hand at powerlifting. I was just like, I like lifting up heavy weights, and I'm going to give it a try. And so knowing myself, I hired a coach. We have a fabulous coach at our gym. I'm going to totally drop his name right now. Dobry, I love you. He's absolutely fantastic. But, I decided that I was going to do this. And again, here's that theme of detached to the outcome. It's coming back again, because I didn't start it with this vision of like, okay, I have to do it this way and it's got to be done that way. I went into it dynamically. Again, I'm using the same words on purpose. It was a dynamic mindset. It wasn't fixed, like I'm going to go into this and I have to do it or else. It was, I'm going to try it and see it. And so over the course of the last 9 months, I used kind of this concept of layering, which is something that I teach, which I layer on part of the process. So I started training with my coach once a week. And then after 3 months, when I realized, I really kind of like this, I started training twice a week with him. And at that point in January, I decided that I was actually going to compete in powerlifting. I had no experience in powerlifting. I just started. Found out that apparently genetically I'm rather gifted, and so far as that I've been bestowed with the genetics for powerlifting in a good way. So I decided, that I was going to compete. And I made the decision, again, very detached. I have no idea. I want to compete at the end of the summer, but I don't have a specific date. I just know that I'm competing, and I'm doing everything in the process to get there. So that's included, for example, me increasing 3 times a week with my coach, paying attention to the whole board, what injuries are going on, what am I experiencing along the way. So that's from the whole concept of the evolution of it. But now from a mindset standpoint, I've never been one to really have big mindset hang-ups when it comes to my fitness world. I've always been rather like, I'm going to do that, and not really like gotten like bogged down. Some people have, stories about not being able to lose weight or not being able to, do whatever it is they're trying to do. But those are never ones that really sat with me. But like, I have had moments where those ego negative thoughts have come in, usually to do with injury. The repetitive one has been that I'm going to injure myself in a squat. That is the only one that tends to come up repetitively. I don't get competitive insofar as am I going to win or not. My brain is just tunnel visioned on just increasing my strength and doing my best. But every now and then, I do get this like momentary thought of like, what happens if I drop a squat and I hurt my back? Like that's the one that just kind of comes back in. But because I'm so versed in mindset, my practices are so there, and my subconscious is so conscious, I'm able to pick up on that, and I know what to do with it. So, it's not about those thoughts not coming in. We're not trying to limit those types of thoughts because we can't, because that's life. We have experiences. We've been influenced by a society. I've seen videos of people getting injured doing squats. So that's programmed into me. So I'm not trying to limit those. Yeah, I want to limit them from coming in because I'd like not to have them, but I'm not trying to get rid of them. All I'm trying to do is to learn how to be aware when they're there and know what to do with it, so that those thoughts are not the thing that's driving me. Because think about how easy it would be to think that I'm going to hurt my back and not keep pushing past limits, and I squatted 363 pounds on Monday twice. Brian's been laughing at me because I've been dropping that bomb like all week.
And Carrie, how tall are you?
I'm 5'5".
You are not.
I'm 5'1" and about 125 pounds.
Yeah. That's some very, very powerful mindset there.
I can tell you without question that the heavier lifts that I do training, it's all up here. It's not. My brain has to be ready. My body, I'm quite convinced right now, is capable of squatting 400 pounds, but it's not a body barrier; it's a mental barrier. So it is in your mindset. There's so much, in fitness in particular, we spend so much time working on the extrinsic stuff, right? Like you get a higher weight, get a higher weight, get a higher weight, but we forget about what's up here to prepare for that. Because if I'm stepping up to a bar with the thoughts going through my head of like, I'm gonna hurt myself, I'm gonna hurt myself, I'm gonna hurt myself, that's exactly what's gonna happen, right? So what you're walking up to the bar with is so powerful, and where your thoughts are the rest of the time is so powerful. I am continually perseverating around my fitness vision, being like, I am at night when I'm doing my phone rolling, I have my phone with me and I'm kind of scrolling Instagram to see the other power lifters, what they're up to, what their maxes are, how they're competing. I've brought it into my life so that I'm feeling it and I'm experiencing it all the time.
Awesome. So that's Carrie in a nutshell.
In a little
Now, Carrie, can you tell us a little bit about the people that you've worked with in mindset? How the variety and where they wanted to go and where they went.
That's a great question. So, the funny thing is I think my mindset work goes all the way back to day one as a counselor. So I will save that whole tirade though. I think that I really have, I've worked with everybody, and I mean that. Like, when it comes to mindset is the foundation. Mindset is and will only ever be the thing that's going to hold you back from attaining what you want. So that means that I've worked with people ranging from, people who want business success to relationship success to financial success to fitness success. I've recently worked with someone who was an alcoholic, who is no longer an alcoholic, in the sense that hasn't had a drink in 120 days, I believe it is now, after years and years of dependency on alcohol. So mindset worked on that. I believe mindset is the root of everything, and I think that there is no limit to it. So women with hormone issues who have particularly horrendous hormonal cycles, it all comes back to being able to learn how to manage your mindset. So I've done a lot of that. I think the thing that's the most a lot of relationship work as well, because mindset in relationships is huge. In a relationship, in a couple relationships, one spouse will affect the other one way more than you realize. It stands across the board. I think everything from, people having massive changes in their financial situation to massive changes in their physical self, depending on what the target is. When I start working with someone, because I work very, very intimately, very one-on-one, I do take on, as much as, I do run MPI with Brian, I do still frontline work. So I take on very intimate private coaching clients who I coach, all week long. Basically, they're with me all week long. But when they come to me, I kind of spend a lot of time assessing and observing at the very beginning. I don't think anybody should be able to walk in and say, this is your problem, and here's how we're going to fix it. Because that would be absolutely naive and absolutely unprofessional. What you think is the problem more often than not isn't the problem. People will come to me with relationship issues, and then we find out 2 weeks later it's not really the relationship, it's the fact that this person isn't, happy with their body. Like, it really does spiral that way, So I always look at, what is the extrinsic surface issue that is the most predominant driver in their life, and we usually start there and we start to peel back from there. So there really is, like, man, like I've worked with everybody, and I love that. I love that. I love the diversity of, people who are extremely, extremely, I want to say bound, so extremely wrapped up in the negative energy of their world. Again, I won't use language that not everybody will recognize, but who are who I would consider almost in crisis state. So I would say that to be like 98% of the time, they are living in a very ego negative state. And then I have people who come to me who have really truly blissful lives, but want more and don't know how to find it for themselves. So it stands the scale, which I love. I love because, I mean, Judy knows me so well, and when I die, I want my like tombstone to say something about like saying my life serving other people. That's what inspires me. So when I get messages from people saying that this has changed, that this has happened, or whatever small change to the big changes, it lights up my world, and I'm grateful for the diversity of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one last question, and this goes to a lot of the conversations you and I have had.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just throw it out there and we'll see what happens. So what do you see as the big difference between mindset coaching and traditional counseling? I know.
People are going to get mad at me. Great question. Okay. So I get to speak on this from a place of authority because I spent 18 years, something like that, in the counseling world, the mental health world. So if I offend anybody, I apologize up front. I'm saying that up front. This is what I know to be true for my clients, as well as what I know to be true from, the world of mental health and counseling. So I also want to add to that I work with a lot of mental health professionals as my clients. So I have an interesting insight too, because I have my own experiences. I have the experiences of my clients, and I have the experiences of the professionals who are working with clients. I would say that the biggest difficulty in the traditional world is that I do not believe the traditional world is equipped the right way to be able to offer simple, practical steps to learning how to navigate whatever it is that's controlling your life. Mm-hmm. I had one client one day who said to me, this person had been in counseling for years, 10 years, to deal with his anger issues. And he was like, okay, so he's like, here's the thing. He's like, I know what to do when I'm curious. I know how to count to 10. I know how to walk away. I know how to apologize. He's like, what I'd really like to know right now is how to not get angry in the first place. There was a lack of understanding of what the driver was, what was happening that was triggering that series of events. That tends to be the feedback I get from a lot of people, is that they're quote unquote done with talking about their problems. They would like to do something now. So that is a huge kind of like, and I really want to say probably, I don't fault an industry. It is what it is, Some people need crisis intervention and they need to talk about stuff, but I think that there's a more simple way to navigate it if you understand the concept of how the mindset works, how the subconscious is our driver. Mm-hmm. I think that the mental health world it's societally conditioned us to feel like we're broken, that we need to be fixed, or that we're beyond repair. And I just think that is the most, destructive terminology we could ever give someone. We all know what the term self-fulfilling prophecy means. So if I tell you you're broken repetitively, that you need to be fixed, that you have problems, well, yeah, that's going to become your reality because that's what you're being fed. So the way mindset views it is we all have stories. We've all experienced a life that has programmed our subconscious. That doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it wrong. It doesn't make it broken. It doesn't make it needing to be fixed or beyond repair. It doesn't make it any of those things. It means that we need to be aware. We need to be aware of what is driving our actions so that we can change them. That's it. So, and I think that, like, I think that in our society, and I'm talking like our North American society here, because I'm going to speak close to home. I think that it's become such an overly medicated, overly quick fix solution environment. And I mean, there's a whole, I mean, I'm not going to get on a soapbox about it all because it's just not worth getting on the soapbox. But I think that there's another answer. And, you know, when I've had a client who at the age of 18 was diagnosed with schizophrenic after being basically a slave to her parents her entire life, literally, by the way. She was diagnosed with schizophrenic because she had some issues. Yeah, you think? I mean, of course she had, look at the experiences she had. But, you know, I mean, that was years ago because she was older. But so she was put on lithium and she was diagnosed with schizophrenic, and she spent close to 30 years in that state. And as I was working with her, by the time we were finished working, her psychiatrist actually removed the diagnosis of schizophrenic. And she was now deemed borderline personality disorder. And if you know the gradients in the mental health world, you know, schizophrenic is probably the most extreme, and maybe anything below that would be considered, I guess, an upgrade to your label or your diagnosis, right? And she had reduced her medications by 50%. So that leads me to believe that, does the medication, the diagnosis even have to be there in the first place? And I know that's a controversial topic. And I know that there's people who would combat me on that. And it's cool. I get it. I understand it. But, like, you don't just become, I mean, if you can unbecome something over 25 years, can you not unbecome that or not be it in the first place? That's my question. And, you know, when can I just keep going for 2 seconds?
You betcha.
Okay. You know, we have something in our program that's called avatars, and I mentioned that before. It's the way that we go about building the understanding of what we want for our life. And we also have something that we talk about in our programs in the MPI that basically teaches you to become aware of the I want to say, like, the ego roles. So the drivers, like I mentioned before, I'm a people pleaser, right? So I'm a recovery people pleaser, and that used to lead me to do certain things. But we've all been there, or we're all there. We're all, you know, we're gonna go do something, and we have one voice saying one thing and another voice saying another thing. So does that mean that we're all schizophrenic? Like, let's face it. Like, you know, and so many people come down on me when I say that, but let's face it. We're all, if schizophrenia is voices in your head, then we are all degrees of schizophrenic. The difference is what drives it versus the people who actually are like their voices are really loud and they don't know how to learn how to navigate those voices, right? But we all have them. So if that's the case, why not address that as the issue and stop calling people broken and stop saying people need to be fixed and, you know, and navigate it differently. Now, I'm going to say this last piece because I am not saying that there isn't instances where medication is potentially necessary. I am not saying that there isn't chemical imbalances. I am not saying that because I know that there's scientific proof behind that. What I am saying, though, is if we cannot view it as the only truth. We have to open our eyes to the fact that maybe it's not. Because I'm a woman sitting here who was abused, who is functioning, who is blissful, who is happy, who is unmedicated, which clearly means that the woman over here who is abused, who was abused, who is victimized, on medication, and in crisis mode all the time, doesn't have to be. Does not have to be. So that was my diatribe on that. Judy opened a can of worms there.
That's just a can of worms we get into a lot when we talk. So, Carrie Campbell, I know you have another call to get on here. I so appreciate you taking the time to be with me, to answer the questions, to to just come on. It's 6:30 in the morning here, folks, and she looks absolutely gorgeous.
That's because I've been up since 4. And I made sure I had time to do my makeup.
Oh my God. So thank you very, very much. You have a great day. And to everybody watching this, I hope you enjoy it. That was a great snapshot of mindset. Thank you. Love you lots, women.
Love you, Jack.
Mwah.